everybody. My next guest is an entrepreneur who has recently transitioned into the sign industry. He has over 25 years of business experience, but has gained popularity for his engaging videos about Long Island's history and oddities, and has established himself as a trusted voice of Long Island. Here he is, the Long Island sign guy himself, Arthur Frischman. Arthur, how you doing, man?
Don, thank you very much for having me. I'm doing great today.
Yeah, it's awesome having you on, man. I've been, a fan of yours, been seeing you on Instagram and all that fun stuff, and
Thank
learning
you.
a ton about Long Island. So it's super cool to have you on the show.
I'm glad I can educate everybody.
Yeah, there you go. But you could doing like looking into you, you could educate more ways than one. You kind of like a marketing background. You're like a marketing guru. Tell me a little bit about your internet marketing background, where you come from. Like,
Well, so I actually came out of a long background of internet marketing for many years, technology, mostly, back in the day when websites were the main thing and email marketing was a big thing. And that's where I came out of. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, that I said, "Hey," I said to my wife, "I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't stare at a computer all day." As I stare at a computer, I
yeah,
said, I can't stare at a computer all day." And said, "Go find something else." And I searched around a lot, and I ended up by getting into the sign business. And so now I'm actually meeting people face to face, but I'm traveling all over Long Island and traveling all over Long Island. I grew up here. And I go to towns, I'm like, wow, I grew up here. I've never been to this town. I don't even know what this town is.
right, yeah.
And a lot of that, and it's amazing, so much of Long Island. There is so much of Long Island. And it's amazing to go around and drive around and see all these things and talk about them.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I grew up here too, and I'm from Brentwood, and you kind of get in your little area, Brentwood, CI, Hop Hog, like whatever the surrounding
Right.
area is, Bayshore, and you don't really realize how big Long Island is. Now I live out in Manorville, and there's all these different towns I've never heard of, and so it's crazy how you could grow up somewhere your whole life and not know really much about it.
My first sign shop was in Wantagh, and I grew up in Northport, East Northport,
Right.
and I remember driving to Wantagh. I don't, I'm like, I don't know if I'd ever been on Sunrise Highway, let alone. I mean,
Right.
you and I grew up a long time ago. There wasn't like I didn't meet friends and text them on the South Shore.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
if you lived within 2 miles of my house, we were friends
Right. Exactly.
because we can walk, right?
Right.
It's a totally different thing when now the kids go around and we're all around and you see so much of Long Island. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one thing too when you find a new town and it's um and you kind of explore around and you see kind of cool stuff. But then it's another thing to dive deeper and see the history, because there's so much history on Long Island like that people don't even think of that you take for granted, like the William Floyd, Parkway or whatever, or
Hmm.
things like that, or Jones Beach, or what's the background of these things. When did the spark hit you that you said, you know what, I should look into all this stuff for my own self, but also now I'm going to share it and maybe utilize my marketing skills and present this in a way.
I'd been doing social media for a while when I first got into the sign business, and I had met with big social media guy, Gary V. I don't know if you know him, but
Yeah.
he had actually sort of given me some advice. He's like, "Look, you're the Long Island sign guy. Talk about whatever you want, right?" And I was driving out, and it's actually probably the worst video I've ever done because it's full of mistakes and whatever. But I literally was driving out by the two Shinnecock Nation advertising signs, the big monuments out there. There's a big fight going on about them, but I had read about it. And I'm like, oh, pulled over to the side of the road. You can hear cars are screaming by. And I'm just sort of filming it as and talking about it as I go. And that was the first one. And I posted that, and it got kind of a lot of views. And like, oh, wait a second, this is the part about Long Island that I could talk about whatever I want. And it sort of snowballed from there.
These massive signs built on the side of Montauk Highway are built on Shinnecock Nation property.
From I had read Robert the book about Robert Moses,
Yeah.
Power Broker, and there's a lot of stuff about the early 1900s in on Long Island and all the building up of Long Island. So there's a lot of amazing stories in there. That and But that was the first, and then the Seaford Oyster Bay was probably the second one that really hit, and then it's just sort of been off from there.
And it's got to be cool too from for your perspective because you're learning as you educate. Unless you knew all this stuff already, but it sounds like you're kind of like learning and then educating. So I think there's the purity of that. Like, hey guys, look what I just found out, and now I'm going to tell you. Yeah, I think that's kind of a cool thing.
It is legit me finding stuff out as it goes along. Like people are always like, "Oh, you must be a history professor. Can you speak here? Can you?" I'm like, no, I looked this stuff up on online. Oh, look, I like trivia. I like history. I like all of that. But in the end, I'm not a history professor in any way. I just tell really good stories about history. That's really what it is.
I could just imagine that, like you said, a lot of history teachers or people are kind of reaching out to you and wanting you to
Yeah.
speak and things like that because you are influential and kids are learning from you. So, I would. How's that been? Have you taken anybody up on their offer yet? Have you, tried to expand on this?
So, I've been I speak in different places, but when it comes to the historical, I'm just starting to do it now. I'm speaking in a few weeks at the Bayshore Historical Society, but and I've been invited to speak, and I'm now starting to do it because I think I have enough um, content. Basically, I've learned enough, right,
Right.
that I
Yeah.
can now actually speak. Obviously, I got to do it in 60-second increments, quick little 60-second topic,
Right. Yeah.
but I can actually speak about the history of Long Island and really come across and know a lot about it by now, just doing these research. I mean, we've done 150, 200 videos on Long Island, so there's a lot of information there.
I bet you have no idea how Long Island was actually created. Over 25,000 years ago, a massive sheet of ice, over a mile thick, pushed down through Canada and New England. It bulldozed everything in front of it. It took over 3,000 years before the ice advance stopped in what is now the South Shore of Long Island.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, because I was gonna say, how long have you been doing this? Like, it's got to be a couple of years. I feel like I've been watching you for a couple of years now, at least, like maybe two
Yeah, so
years, 3 years.
the first is that Shinnecock video was April of last year.
Oh,
I haven't
wow.
even been doing Has not even been a year. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind year, but it has not even been a year doing this type of historical Long Island sign guy. Um, the I've been doing social media, but for my sign company, strictly that those type of videos didn't pop up until early till April of last year.
That's crazy. And I always get every time I see your video when I'm scrolling, it's one of those you stop scrolling, you listen, you're like, this is cool. You
Thank
always
you.
learn about new stuff or different spin on what you thought you knew, it's type of thing. So I think that's cool. And like this must have surpassed your expectations of when you started doing this. Like, holy shit, like look at this. This is nuts. Like,
I didn't. It kind of it happened very quickly when I started getting recognized, and I was doing the Huntington Townhouse. And if you grew up on Long Island, you went to a wedding, a bar
my prom
mitzvah,
was there. Yeah.
graduation, a prom at the Huntington Town. You went there, right?
Yeah.
And I did that video, and it was probably only a month after I had started to get doing these historical videos, and some lady comes honking her horn, screaming, and her husband's driving. She gets out of her car, runs over and gives me a hug. Like, okay, this is getting a little weird for me, but no, it's been I like the fact you made the comment about the kids. I get a lot of recognition amongst um teens, and I think that's cool. Like that my kids all go to the high school, and I'm glad the fact that they're interested in not just looking at you know strolling ridiculous dances on TikTok. They're actually it is getting it's getting and they like it, so that's cool. And I really appreciate that, and I appreciate all the comments I get about learning about the history of Long Island. I really do appreciate it.
And I think it's cool that you when you do the Long Island things, because you are kind of representing the sign guy and your sign business, but you never really push it at the end or anything like that. You don't really like have a back tag.
No.
Hey, everybody, don't forget to do my signs. Like, you kind of keeping it like almost on its own thing. And but I would assume that's still helping promote the business.
Well, so I had to, due to a business relationship about a year and a half ago, I had to start this company again. Basically, started my sign business last January 2025 into December 24, from zero. Couldn't take any customers, couldn't take anything. Um, this business is built 100% on social media. I've spoken to so many people, so many entrepreneurs reach out to me and ask me to talk about, how to use social media, how to build a business. And I always tell them, I'm like, I don't like you never mention your sign company. Well, I do, because if you look, my icon says Long Island Sign Guy. I I wouldn't go on stage without this tag here. Just
Right.
in general, you see this, right? And so it's important. I never go around, but oh, by the way, if you need a sign, it's the type of thing that I want to be in the forefront of people's minds. And I'm not to be, I don't mean this to come off as arrogant in any way, but if you're on Long Island and you need a sign, you're not remembering somebody else's sign's name. You're probably remembering Long Island Sign Guy by now. And we get recommendations. People are like, yeah, my friend told me I should call you for a sign, and no idea. The friend never used me. I have no idea who
Right.
and so that's it. And I think it's hugely important not to push what you do, just to build relationships. That's what I say. This is about building relationships, not about selling signs.
Right. And you definitely have done, I would think, an amazing job building relationships on the Long Island scene. I feel like everybody knows who the Long Island sign guy is. I feel like everyone is engaged with your video stuff. And then it, like you said, it will drive people to check you out, or if they need a sign, or if business is in need of a sign, they're going to,
Yeah.
look to you. Um, and like you said, you got into this. I feel like you're also an inspiration to older guys, like
Be
such as
gentle.
myself. Yeah.
Be gentle. Be gentle.
I'll be 55 this year. I'm in between jobs. I'm actually starting my own um business of video editing and stuff like that. But it is challenging at this age when you do get laid off to find jobs because you get aged out or whatever. They're looking for younger people. And you're an inspiration to a lot of people because you started up at a later age, I would, and very successfully. What's your advice to guys like that might want to follow your path?
It's I'll give you this fact. Once you get over 40, your business is entrepreneur is twice as likely to be successful over the age of 40. You don't realize it, that the connections you have, the bullshit meter that you have, the seeing through the hype that you have at a later stage, it circumvents so many things. I get to talk to people. When I was 22 or 25, I couldn't walk into a guy that owned 5 restaurants and talk to him intelligently. I was a kid. I had no history. I had no, I never raised kids. I never had a job while I was doing that. You're so much more likely, and easier is not the word, Don. It's not the
Right,
word. But even right now, you're going into video editing. You have so much more knowledge, so much more reach, and also a little bit longer of a time, even though you're older, you have a little bit longer of a time horizon in your mind that I'm not going to make $1 million tomorrow. I'm building something here. And yeah, I get asked all the time by so many customers talking to me about, when I go into a business and they need signs, Like we talk about signs for 10 minutes and then we talk about their business for half an hour.
Right,
Um,
right,
I enjoy doing it. I love talking about it. And I think it's the best advice I would have is do not think you're too old to do it. Do not think you're too old to put your face on camera. Do not think you're, too old to start your own business. I don't have the energy. I don't have the time. You do. You're going to shortcut a lot of the stupid moves you would have done at 25 and 30. You're shortcut, and you're also not going to chase things. You see things more clearly. You may not start up the next Google, but you're
right,
going to build a successful chain of restaurants or laundromats or whatever. You're more likely to be able to do things like that.
right. Yeah, because with your story, you would do, yeah, we said you were doing the websites and all that stuff, and you found a completely different thing. You didn't know much about the sign business before you got into it.
A whole lot of zero. I knew absolutely nothing about signs. I just didn't know anything about signs. But to me, it was logical, and the part I liked about it. So years ago, I owned a security software company, and we were, competitors to like Norton and McAfee, and that's what I did. And the part I liked about it is that I could sell my product to everybody. I wasn't selling women's clothes or men's clothes that I could sell this to anybody who had a computer. And the same thing here with signs. I deal with businesses and every business needs me. You may not want to work with me, you may not need me today, but you will need a sign at one point. So I love the fact that it covers the whole market. And that's really what drew me to it right away is that I'm able to reach out to everybody who owns a business. So I had no experience in it, but that was really what drew me to it. And then I get to talk to people every day instead of staring at a computer,
Right,
running spreadsheets all day long. So
right. Yeah, and I guess with talking to people, especially business owners, and you start get to know them and you hear their story, then you could start to learn from them their pros and cons
correct.
and all that stuff.
Correct. I feel like I've had certainly with the Long Island Sign Guy. I mean, it's gotten me out it's helped me grow my business, and it's gotten me out to. I'm the main salesperson still, so it gets me. I talk to 20, 30 business owners a week, every week, and my questions go the same. They're like, "Oh, I need a sign for the front," and we got that under control, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, "So what kind of business you got? What made you get into it? What are your problems? Where you like
Right. So
that's what I do." And I'm like, sorry, but that's what I do. You get if you want me, you want to sign for me, I'm going to grill you about your business. I want to learn a little bit. It's the way it works.
yeah, I
So
think that's great. That's how you keep learning, and that's what's cool about you too. Is whether it's Long Island or businesses or whatever, you're always learning. You never shut it off. You never. I know it all now.
correct. Yeah, I got a lot to learn. So yeah, once you realize that, yeah, business is really amazing to me. I'm impressed every time I talk to people and the ideas they come up with, and I really do learn. I'm not some 22-year-old going, "Oh, I really learned a lot." I pick up things and I pick up nuances when I'm talking to people about ideas they have and how they do things. It's not always about a new idea, but it's usually about how people do things, how people work their business, how they run their business. It's definitely interesting. We're going into a stage right now that in the world with AI and robotics that I don't quite think people really wrap their heads around. And I think it's going to be a very difficult change, or for some people, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. There's going to be, this is going to be, I've said this numerous times before, never on air, but
Right.
that we're going into a winner take all society. And that's the way it's going to be. This AI is going to knock out a lot of um, businesses and organizations and going to really make people super hyper efficient. So when you used to have 10 people doing something, you're going to have one person doing 20 things. And I think being prepared for that is an enormous challenge, and I think something that people are a little bit unaware of really how fast this is going on right now. A lot of people are very unaware, and I'm doing my best to build my company so I will be in that scenario where we'll still be around even as this technology goes on.
Yeah, with AI, I mean, it's fast and furious the way it's expanding, the technology constantly evolving, getting better, and all this stuff kind of stuff. How could people get ahead of it? Like, what do you think? Like, I mean, I guess you could learn how to be an AI operator or something, or like, what? How do you get ahead of it? And what businesses would you say are kind of AI proof that you're going to continue with it? Like, I would think plumbers and those kind of trades, like carpenters.
I will make this statement: there is no business that's AI proof. Nothing. And you know, without going into the technical part of it, ChatGPT, which is OpenAI and Claude, they release their coding platforms now that are far superior than any coder. They actually are the coding platforms are helping write their own code. So think about that. The technology is making the technology better. I did something and like so you asked me how we could make yourself better. I just literally revamped my business. I'm in the middle of doing it right now, and I'm working a combination of ChatGPT, having conversations about where are my shortcomings and how to do it in my business structure, and literally recoding things using other apps. I live on Base 44, has rewritten a CRM. I have my own CRM system. I'm
Wow.
not paying for HubSpot. I'm not paying. I literally just sat down for 2 hours. I am the greatest coder in the world because of that. And I have no idea how to code, by the way. But I did
Right.
it and I explained it. And now all of a sudden, I think that the real thing is you have to stop looking at, oh, I'm too old to do this, or these changes won't affect me. I'm a plumber. Are you kidding? Go look at any of the robotics companies online. They've got Elon Musk is releasing a robot that can weld. It,
Wow.
it can
Yeah.
weld, okay? Because he's got to weld a lot of cars. So they're having a robot that can weld. So that industry's gone. You want roofers. Would you rather pay guys that are going to get hurt and fall off a roof or a robot to climb up there and roof? Plumbers, you don't think they can all these technologies. Now the difference is, and you asked me about what, and I'm sorry if I'm getting super excited about this and a little long,
No, no, this is
but
great. Yeah.
this is it. If you are the plumber that has embraced technology and now can run and handle multiple robots, so your plumbing company, instead of handling 10 houses a day, can handle 50 houses a day or 100 houses a day, you become the dominant force, and that's the winner take all. So there's going to be there's going to be a sign company on Long Island, and it's going to be a recognized sign company, and it's going to be someone who embraces technology to grow. And it's the same for everything across the board. But yeah, that's it. You have to be willing to start playing around and learning the different, and not say and never say it's not going to affect my business because it's you know every coder in the world right now is going, oh shit, this is now better than I am, and I make $300,000 a year. Where
Right.
do you think my job's going?
Yep. That's what's scary is in a way, but like you said, you got to get ahead of it. Because what's scary is if you're not ahead of it, or if you haven't figured out your position within all of this, you can get right passed over by AI, and then
Oh,
what?
correct. The then what is the concerning part, that, but I think there's still so much opportunity, and one of the driving forces really behind Long Island Sign Guy is, I said it to you before, there's two things: AI and personal branding. And Long Island Sign Guy is my personal brand, and that will grow, that will go beyond, when somebody needs signs as time goes on. The name recognition, I think, is not just for me, but there's many people that are doing that. But that's going to be a super key component, moving forward. And I'm old. But realistically, I may be retired by the time this all, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, you could be retired, but let the robots do all the work.
exactly, exactly. So exactly.
Wow. So what's interesting too is we're talking about AI, which is current and also the future, and then a lot of your in your stuff that you put out there is all based in the past and Long Island history. So
Mhm.
it's like this full gamut
Well, yeah, exactly,
of information that you're doing. Um,
exactly.
but yeah, I think with businesses, like you said, business owners and people in general, everyone, whether you're working for a company or you're owning the company, you have to, and I think the key is to embrace technology and embrace the AI and try to get ahead of it somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too many older people like us
Right,
are scared or hesitant, and it's not you're not the coder. You just have to learn how to use the technology effectively. And that's it. You just need to learn how to use it is really what it comes down to. Um, but I think there's going to be so much opportunity moving forward for new avenues of growth. While yeah, there's every time there's a big technology change in the history, you know, from all the way, anytime there's been a big technology change over our history, a lot of people lose jobs.
right,
And
yeah,
then there's an advancement beyond that. There's a continued advancement beyond that. And they'll be the same here. I think it's going to be quicker. What's going to happen is this is going to happen a lot quicker. You look at kids going to college, kids can't get jobs out of college now. Well, if kids can't get jobs out of college, how many parents are going to pay $200,000 to send them to college?
right, yeah, yeah, right,
If they can't
exactly.
get a
So,
job, I'll just give my kid the $200,000.
right,
Why
yeah,
why
exactly,
am I send them to college?
right.
So yeah, no, it's going to happen quickly is what the difference this time is. It's going to happen very, very quickly.
And you would think too that new jobs would emerge. There'll be different demands
Correct.
that will come around, and you have to
Correct.
kind of seek those out now. If you could start troubleshooting, well, if this, try to get the Elon he helmet on, think like him or something, and think,
I think the real key is being able to use the technology to grow what you do as opposed to being it, if you're the person that goes around and says it's not going to affect me because I'm doing something like this, you're toast,
right,
right?
exactly,
Because it's going to, there's no way around it. Like, you know, there's gonna you can go down the list of industries. You can just go down the whole list and how this all plays out. But if you're the person who says it's not going to affect me, you're the first one gone. That's really
exactly.
all it is. That's it.
No, it's
So
it's so true because every single industry gets affected by it in some harder than others. But like even music, like you can make a song right now on your phone or whatever on your on on
yeah.
with AI, and it just affects every single marketplace. I don't think there's anything safe, really.
No, no, not at all. Except for, like I said, embracing technology and personal brands are the two things that will continue on and go beyond because people still, there's no AI version of the Long Island sign guy. But I don't give anybody suggestions. But there's
Right,
no,
right,
there's no like it's me, right? And when you meet me, I'm the same person, right? But you can't do that with AI versions and it's those are even as good as they get, right? And they're better and better and better.
right,
Um, that AI version can't go to your shop and talk to you about business or talk to you about signs
right,
or
right,
talk to you about plumbing or anything. So that's a key component.
right,
It's key.
exactly. You
So
still need that relationship side of
correct,
yeah,
correct.
yes.
Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk County only, were a state, it'd be the 33rd biggest state between Mississippi and Kansas, but our population density would be 2,429, over double the density of the state of New Jersey. I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but it's pretty crowded here.
Getting back to the Long Island stuff and stuff that you've learned along the way, what are there any stories that you've learned that blew your mind about Long Island that you were like, wow, really? Or how's that like? What's
You
some of
know,
the standouts?
So I will tell you is, we all sat there, you and I went to school and we sat there and we learned about how Long Island was created in the Ice Age. I will tell you, that is the most amazing story to me like when you look at the timelines of how Long Island was actually created, like the ice pushed down 20,000 years ago to the South Shore of Long Island. It took 3,000 years for it to retreat. 3,000, and the ice was a mile high. Ice above your head was a mile high. It took 3,000 years to retreat to the North Shore. We had traffic back then, right? So going from the North Shore to the South Shore, it took 3,000 years for the ice to flow back, right? It's amazing to me, like how that all created Long Island and how I did a video on it. It was one of my best videos, and it's talking about all the creation and how the waters got filled in and how Long Island Sound was actually a lake until the water filled in and broke through and made it open to the ocean. One of the things that I always do, and I sat there on my sliding glass doors in my backyard, and I sat there and I'm trying to think who was the first person, who was the first human to ever walk in this yard, right? Who
Right.
was it?
Yeah.
When was it? Was it a British soldier? Was it a Native American? Because realistically, the Native Americans, when they lived on Long Island before, um, once the ice cleared, once the ice started clearing and it got warm, there was only a few thousand of them. So they may
Right.
never have come up by my where I live. But was it the British soldiers or was there some colonial settler that came across and just walked through my backyard with a little musket on his
Right.
backyard?
Yeah.
I always sit there and think, I'm like, who was the first person here? Who actually walked across all these lands? And what did this look like? What was, Main Streets really looking like when, what did it look like when George Washington took his ride around the South Shore and around Long Island?
Yeah.
Where did he actually stop? There was no 7-Eleven on the corner. How did he know to go another mile to the Sacticos Manor? You know, like
Right.
how did
Yeah.
those things,
Yeah.
how did he know those things? Those are it's always even, the stories of Robert Moses, how he like however you want to say it, built the highways and how he literally surveyed the properties on he'd walk the southern state and whose property it was and it's amazing if you start to think in your mind what this was. We drive around and go, oh, I remember when that store was, a 7-Eleven before it was whatever. But did you ever think, what was that 100 years ago in that corner, or 200 or 500 years ago in that corner?
Yeah.
That's the stuff that really amazes me.
Before car dealerships, before strip malls, this was a Native American trail used by the Matinecock tribe. By the 1600s, it became part of Kings Highway, a colonial road connecting Brooklyn all the way to the east end of Long Island.
But there's so much interesting, even the recent, I find I get a lot of interest and a lot of stories about recent, and I call it recent history, still 1900s, like where like Long Island Arena. I don't know if you remember the Long Island Arena. You're from Brentwood, you probably
Yeah.
remember it
Yeah.
in Comac.
Comac. Yeah.
It was around for 40 years, 50 years. There's also Island Garden, but so many events and so many things. It was the Huntington Townhouse came and went, and
Yeah.
it's gone. And so
Yeah.
you either went or you did, it's done. And there's so many of those places around. I love doing those videos because there's always some event that occurred at one of these locations that is just it's gone out of history. It's
Yeah.
the plate location's gone. I did Long Island Arena and there was I can't remember now, I can't remember off the top of my head, but one of Peter Frampton's song from Frampton Comes Alive was filmed at the Long Island Arena. Now that place is gone. It's a Target
Yeah.
or a
Yeah. It's a shopping center. Yeah.
it's a shopping center now. And it's but the album lives forever. And that's it was filmed there. Like
Wow.
those are things that are kind of cool to me to these little tidbits that are gone from history but are still very much really parts of it are still alive. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There's so much of that, like you said, and that's why I love it. You did one video, Brentwood, of it used to be a town where there's no law. No, I didn't even know that. I knew about the way you were standing, like the octagon house there.
Yep.
I mean, we knew that was history. I grew up, in the Boy Scouts, they would talk about that house and in the old school and all, but I never realized that town.
I bet you didn't know this part of Long Island was actually based off of an outlandish social experiment. In the early 1850s, Josiah Warren and Stephen Pearl Andrews arrived in the area. They were social reformers and planned to build a utopian community. They called their new town Modern Times.
The concept was it was two guys from can't remember where they're from. It was called Modern Times, and they
Yeah.
and I'm so glad I remembered that name because I don't remember it all. But it was
Right.
called Modern Times, and they had it was everything. There was no police, there was nothing, and it was before the Civil War. And what actually broke it up, it only lasted 10 or 15 years, but what broke it up was the fact that people started to move in that had took different sides of the Civil War, of slavery, and they were on different sides of it.
Yeah.
And that was what broke that up. So that was an interesting, yeah, there's all a lot of little
Yeah.
scenarios like that that just grew over time.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, like they said, that was where I grew up and still learning new stuff from you about my own town. So I was like, this is awesome.
That's
Yeah.
that's funny. The other part that I always love is that because I'm from Northport and I grew up, and there's an area of Northport called the Pit. And the Pit is literally it's called it's officially it was Steers Pit, which was Steers Sand and Gravel Company. And they came in and they basically dug out the side of Northport, literally dug outside. And now people live down there, but they took the sand, they took it out to a concrete factory, a way station of sort. They dragged it out there, took the sand, brought it into New York City, made concrete for the sidewalks. There's a few of these along the North Shore. There's one in Port Washington, which is a massive one. And literally there are these massive cutouts. And I'm sure there's probably 100 or so houses down there in the pit now. I don't know if they know like that this was once just part of the landscape.
Right.
And it was a cliff that came off. It was the end to the beach. But now it's a giant hole where these people live.
I may have seen the pit, not realized it. Northport's
It's
beautiful, by the way. It's great.
right by the one in Port Washington's way north. The one in Northport is right by the smokestacks, the three stacks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's by the three stacks in Northport.
Super cool.
Yeah,
All right. So before I let you go, I got a few things here. It's going to be like this or that type of things
got it.
for the most part. So North Shore or South Shore?
North Shore.
I'm kind of with you on the North Shore. Grew up on the South Shore, but now I'm in Manorville, right where it kind of splits, North and South Shore,
Mhm.
and I kind of like the North beaches better for some reason.
Well, I would. So the North Shore and the South Shore are totally different worlds. I left my house the other morning, and we had like a dusting of snow. I got down to my shop in Deer Park, and there's 3 inches of snow on the ground. I'm like, what other
Right.
world are we in? It's a completely different world. But we got screwed on the North Shore with the ice age that all of our beaches and everything's hilly. Our beaches are rocks. On the
Rocks.
South Shore, you got the sand, everything pushed out. It was nice. It's nice and clean. So, but I'm still a North Shore guy.
Yeah, for me with the beaches thing is I like the sandy beaches if I'm going to swim and all that, but I like the view and the vibe
Yep,
of the North Shore beaches. And my wife collects sea glass, so we're always on the North Shore.
got it.
That's a pretty rock. These are glass. Found a lot more in my pocket. I just don't want to drop it. These are throwbacks.
What's your favorite parkway? Or if you have a favorite.
I've done the video, Ocean Parkway. It is. I don't
Yeah.
even know if I knew it existed. And but one day I was coming home from Wanta from the shop in
That's right
Wanta,
there.
and GPS gave me it said go this way, and I'm not always paying attention. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I never realized because I probably the only time I was on it when I was a kid and we were going to the beach and it was traffic on a Saturday morning, so we're doing 3 miles an hour. Now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is a highway. Ocean Parkway is the prettiest 15-mile stretch of roadway on Long Island.
I have to agree with you on that, man. It is a beautiful view. You got the beach right there. It's just a nice stretch
It
and
is.
and
It's nice.
it feels good. Yeah,
Yep.
it's I used to take that all the time when I had drive from Brentwood to Mineola. It's
Nice.
just to bypass Southern State and
To
everything.
bypass the rest of the world.
Yeah,
That's really what it is,
exactly.
pretty much.
Um, uh, Other than the town you grew up in, which would be Northport, what's your favorite town?
Well, that's kind of a cheat because it's the town over. I would say Port Jeff, but I really like West Hampton, that area out there. It's a cool area out there. Actually, you know something? I'm gonna take that back. I like Riverhead. Riverhead, that
Yeah.
the downtown area, Riverhead. It's not that I don't like West Hampton, but I was fighting back and forth. We actually, our office is located in Riverhead, and
Oh,
so I've
nice.
spent a lot of time out there in the past year and a half, and I like the town of Riverhead. The whole downtown area on the water there. It's nice. I like that area.
Yeah, it's really nice. They got the little river walk now
Yep,
over there.
exactly,
I'm
exactly.
Manorville, so I'm in Riverhead. That's like going to town for us. Like, all right, we got to go to the
Yeah,
market. Let's get into
yeah,
town. That's where
yeah.
everything is, you know. But yeah, I love Riverhead, and yeah, good choice on that. And I love West
Thank
Hampton
you.
too, man. It's a great strip.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, with the bar scene and the art scene and all that stuff. Or that's
exactly.
Southampton. Yeah, I think that's West Hampton.
Well, I think they
Um,
have bar scenes in Bowsonville. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
What's your go-to pizza place?
That is funny that you asked that. My go-to pizza place, there's a lot of great pizza places around, and I if I was smart, I would say the one we're about to do the sign for, but I think I've got to be true, and it's Anna's Pizzeria in Northport is always really, really good pizza. And swear, I hope I don't mess up any customer that I'm probably be doing. I should say Phil's and Syosset,
Well, shout
but
outs. We'll give shout outs to both of them. But yeah, Anna's and
yeah,
Phil's.
but
Yeah.
Anna's in Northport. It's right around by my house, and we like it. We like it's good.
All right. Now here's a tricky one. And this will and then this might be the last one is Billy Joel or Harry Chapin. Uh who's more
Billy
Long Island?
Joel, I've done a video on Harry Chapin. I have not done one on Billy Joel, but I'm a I don't know, default, but huge Billy Joel fan. Um, I'm I liked Harry Chapin, but I'm not, but definitely much more. I've seen Billy Joel in concert a gazillion times. Yeah, so I'm a big Billy Joel fan. That would be my default.
Very cool. Awesome, man. That was I appreciate you doing it. Also, I wanted to ask you too before I forget. Have you ever thought about all these things that you've been doing, putting it into a book form or kind of taking it to a different level and because you're learning, you know, and putting out all this information about Long Island, I didn't know if you would publish that one way or the other.
There are books. I get asked that a lot. I do. I really, and I, I'm, I'm right now actually separately in the middle of writing a book about building a local business in the age of AI and using personal
Oh,
branding to
that's
do it,
great.
dominate local in the age of AI. But that I've looked at that and we have so much content. I mean, literally, there's probably 200 videos, but I have not planned on writing a book. People ask me, but I'm like, oh, the videos are all there. They're all kind of cool.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I have not at this moment put together a book. No.
And what do you think? I think you've inspired so many people in many different ways, but a lot of copycats. Is that good or bad that there's people out there doing it? Like, is it flattering or is it competition or how do you view that?
Um, I give you the politically correct answer or what I truly feel when it's just my wife and I talking. No, look, it's a big internet, and I I'm I appreciate the fact that there are a lot of people that are doing similar um, uh, things like Long Island history and Long Island events. I think it's good for Long Island. Um, but what I say to my wife is, I wish they'd stop doing it. Like, do your own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Find your own way, man.
Find your
Yeah.
own stuff to do. No, it's fine. There are a lot of people, real estate and guys doing and this stuff that I take that as a little flattery,
Right. And the copycats, you got to remember when anyone sees one of those, they go, "Oh, this guy's trying to be the Long Island sign guy."
which I appreciate.
Yeah, you're the OG, man.
People tag me all the time. Anytime someone else releases a video, people tag me all the time on social
Yeah, look at
media.
this guy. Yeah, trying to be
So,
you. Yeah. No, but I think that's great. I think yeah, you're humble and you know what's what and yeah and you know people learning a ton from you. So in all different avenues. So I urge everybody to go check out the Long Island Sign Guy on Instagram and also your business. How can they find all your information?
Signs of Long Island. Signs of Long Island is actually my sign company, but everything is Long Island Sign Guy. It's on my phone number. It has is on that. Is on that. It's the easiest way to find me. So honestly, I have my truck has two Long Island Sign Guy stickers on the side. It doesn't even have a phone number. It just has this the social media. Um, it's still it's it works. So I haven't even that's we've left it at that. So
So if anybody sees you on the side of the road doing your thing, they can jump out and go hug you like that lady did.
well, the funny thing is, I'm filming. I'm sitting there on the side of the road filming sometimes, and people honk. I'm like, okay, got to redo that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I end up by redoing them. But no, it's something. Look, the recognition. I really appreciate it. Um, when I'm driving, when I'm at restaurant, wherever I am, I really appreciate it. You know, I've got it's a good group of people that comment to me and talk to me like that. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, Arthur, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. It means a lot. Looking forward to seeing more of your videos along the way. And this will be out in about 2 weeks or so, but I'll start putting
Excellent.
out clips on Instagram probably early as next week. So
Just
look out for
hit
those.
me with the collab part, and hit the Long Island Sign Guy with that.
Awesome. You're the man. I appreciate everybody checking out Arthur Frischman, Long Island Sign Guy. Thank you so much.
Don, thank you very much.